Greetings from a not-so-secret location somewhere in the Midwest. I'm here today with Mondo Gonzalez, and this is actually a first for me. Mondo, where's your tie?
You know, I don't even know if I own one, Bob.
This is the first time I think I've ever been on television without a tie, and it's okay. It feels good, and the reason I'm not wearing a tie is because Mondo is creating so much work for me and for our 4 video editors that, we're sweating a little bit up here. So we decided to play it a little casual today, kind of give you an update on where we're going, the future of Prophecy Watchers. Things are happening so fast around here, it's really hard to keep up. It is getting to be a little bit overwhelming. Now, with that said, my personality is I tend to bite off more than I can chew. And Mondo, you certainly haven't helped the cause, for sure.
It's been great. I mean, we have so many things. I'm shocked at even in our conversations of how many things God is doing despite us and opening the doors for us to walk through. So that's been an adventure in and of itself.
It is exciting to watch the hand of the Lord at work, watch these doors. I think back 8 years ago when we first launched the ministry, who knew God would take us to where we are today? It really is a tremendous, incredible miracle that we're witnessing here. And we give, all the glory to God. 8 years ago, I had a dream, and you have to understand something about my personality. I'm just a regular prophecy guy. I love the words of Gary Stearman. I'm not a Facebooker, I'm a real booker. Well, I'm a real booker too. Years ago, I read a book by Grant Jeffrey, Armageddon, Appointment with Destiny. I'm sure many of you have it in your library. And that book really changed my life. It set me on a prophetic course and created this overwhelming interest in Bible prophecy in my life. And what I've discovered in conversations with Mondo, we've walked the same pathway, haven't we?
Mm-hmm. Very similar.
I mean, we talk about, kind of being prophecy junkies and having these huge libraries of books. I've seen part of Mondo's library, but he hadn't really seen mine because I have nowhere to put it. Well, I had a dream of having the world's largest Bible prophecy bookstore, and 8 years ago, and we have over 2,500 products in our bookstore, and I may not be able to compete with that other international huge bookstore, but on the other hand, when you check out in our bookstore, there's not an accidental copy of the Satanic Bible in your shopping cart. So we've created this what's the word I'm looking for? We've created this central clearinghouse for prophecy authors, and not just any prophecy book or any prophecy authors, people who are dispensational, people who believe in a pre-tribulation rapture, people who, for the most part, the largest inventory of materials we have are all people who we would agree with on many, tenets of the faith. And so what you're sitting in front of me today is a once-a-year special that we run, usually every November before Christmas, that we settled on the name of Grab Bag. And what it is, it's a buy one, get 2 free offer that helps us clear out the inventory at the ministry towards the end of the year. It helps you shopping for Christmas presents for friends and loved ones. I mean, what better idea to give someone but a book on Bible prophecy? Because books change people's lives. It changed my life. And as I look back and realize that this was the foundation for my walk with Christ, reading books on Bible prophecy, getting excited about the blessed hope, realizing and learning, getting educated. I guess my early goal in life was to become another Gary Stearman. And trust me, I'll never get there. And Gary, is back with us now, which is a real blessing. You may not know this, but Gary and Mondo have been coming into the studio every Thursday and Friday and actually shooting a whole series of new programs on time travelers of the Bible. And Gary finally has someone he can sit down with and actually have a really intelligent conversation with. And I know you're enjoying it too.
Yeah, it's been tremendous, Gary and I. And we have other things that we're planning on doing, which we're going to talk about. But for me, it's an honor to sit down and just see his excitement for his own book. Because it really is a very in-depth book. Covering, you can see his skills and understanding of science and physics and other things just kind of ooze out of him. It's been a treat.
I know he's enjoying it because Gary is really probably the smartest guy I've ever known, And he has a unique way of looking at the Bible. We're glad he's healthy again and coming back in the office. And my nickname, and I've given myself this nickname at the ministry, is the stick pin. And we laugh about that, but basically I'm kind of the guy that gets everybody moving and gets everybody working. I already have all these new projects lined up for you that you don't even know about.
It's great.
I'm waiting for you to finish Time Travelers. We're going to do the book of Enoch. We're going to do the book of Revelation. And I know you're just smiling, thinking, boy, easy for you to say.
Yep.
But we're having fun here. If you haven't figured it out, Mondo and I, we're living the dream, as we like to say. What better life is there than telling people about the soon return of Christ? And so it's exciting. Now, you see all these books on the desk here. These are all the books that are part of the grab bag we're offering. Books, DVDs. If you're fortunate, you even get a copy of the Rapture Kit, which is something that we've offered before. It's actually, a $40 product that has all the resources people will need for those people who get left behind and actually miss the rapture and wind up in the tribulation. But a lot of these titles we just have too many of. Some of them were given to us, believe it or not, for free by generous authors. And so once a year, we like to really make an offer to you that really is sensational. We've had like 100 orders in the last 2 days, and the girls in the shipping department are ready to kill me. But regardless, it's good for us, it's good for you, it helps us clean out our warehouse. And we have a lot of other exciting things going on here. The Psalm 19 project, which is really your baby, I want you to talk a little bit about kind of what we're doing, where we are in the process. You sent me a picture last night, I think it was like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was still awake working, believe it or not. And it got me excited because when people see some of the things you're going to be producing through the telescopes, they're going to get really excited about God's creation.
Yeah, it's actually been somewhat a little frustrating because as with everything else, supply chain. So with both of the scopes we have, but only one of them is usable at the moment because we don't have the permanent mount yet. And they're telling us November or even December, and you're like, oh, really? But we do have a portable mount. So last night, I had the opportunity to open up, the observatory's done, so open up the roof. And that's the picture I took of you showing the one telescope on the portable mount in there. And I spent 3 hours, actually 4 hours, taking images of some nebula up in the north. I'm going to get some pictures of the moon tonight, and then hopefully we'll see if we can get some pictures of the lunar eclipse that's going to be happening here next week.
How's your wife feel about this late night activity going on at the observatory?
My wife is one of those. We're opposites in that I hate mornings. Well, I don't hate mornings, but I'm not a morning person. My most productive time, like you, is about 11 o'clock at night, where hers is 7 in the morning. So 9 o'clock, she's gone. She's out. So I have I get to go out, and it's just me and the stars, and so I get to kind of have an unlimited freedom.
Kid in a candy store,
for sure.
Seems to come to mind. But in the near future, you're going to be seeing some of these spectacular images. I kind of just can only smile a little bit when I hear people talk about NASA. And there's good and bad. We're not in love with NASA. But some of the things that are in the heavens that you're going to see, you're going to discover for the first time are actually not CGI images. This is God's creation. You always have to be careful. God made this. He wants us to see this. We can't see it for the most part with the naked eye. But these telescopes we have are just mind-blowing. When you see literally the trillions of stars in the heavens and the universe. Couple things. Tell us about the rings of Saturn. I know you've done a little looking at that.
Yes, one of our scopes, again, the smaller refractor, I had it out a couple weeks ago, and I've looked at Saturn multiple times in the last 20 years. Of course, I've had telescopes, but this particular refractor, the precision and the resolution on it was so incredible that I was able to see the Cassini division, which for the first time ever, in the sense of with clarity, I was like, wow, look at this. And even the night that I was able to see it, if it's windy, then the imaging or the viewing is not as good. But I was like, this is great. I showed it to a few relatives, and they were like, that looks fake. That's not real. And I'm like, no. And then they knew it was real, but it was so good that it looked fake.
Well, I know everybody's really excited about some of the images we're going to be producing and sharing with them. Now, we also have another, I think this is a momentous occasion with Prophecy Watchers. Last week, all of the equipment we ordered for our new podcast has come in. And actually tomorrow, we're going to begin setting up the studio for that. And to me, this has always been a missing piece of Prophecy Watchers. You know, we do television programs, you know, we have a magazine, we have a YouTube channel, you know, we have an app, we have all these different ways that we reach people, but we've never really used the opportunity and the platform we have to begin a daily broadcast of things that are actually happening in the world. And there's so much happening right now. I mean, you and I, you know, sit here and just, we're flabbergasted by, you know, the amount of prophetic things going on that we never talk about or rarely talk about unless it's on a weekly program. And sometimes that's months after the fact, after it's recorded. So I know Gary is really excited about launching this podcast. Most people don't realize that Gary's background actually is in radio, not in television. Gary actually had the #1 rated AM radio program in Oklahoma City for many, many years. He always chuckles and says, yeah, it was more popular than Rush Limbaugh.
Yep.
And
who he liked.
I don't know how long that lasted.
Yep.
But Gary and Mondo are going to be sitting down, you know, literally every week now and talking about prophetic events, talking about things going on in Israel, talking about the Great Reset, talking about the elections, talking about things going on in the country that people really need breaking news about, things that are happening. Just yesterday, we're watching Benjamin Netanyahu, you know, come back to power in Israel. And you know, these are exciting times we live in.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt when you look at some of these things. I'm not. I don't lean towards sensationalism, but I think because we don't need to. I mean, there was a time maybe 30, 40 years ago when you maybe had to reach or you're trying, but now the prophetic implications of the news is undeniable, and so it's great to present the information through a biblical worldview. Even the elections in Israel, some of the ramifications of Benjamin Netanyahu becoming prime minister versus Yair Lapid or somebody else, it definitely has some prophetic ramifications for what we understand as the coming of the third temple. The red heifers have just been arrived. I mean, it's pretty amazing, and I think it's important for us to continue to educate God's people on what we're seeing.
You know, what really grips me is, you know, the old story about the frog in the kettle of water. And it's cool water when he gets in and he's swimming around, and little by little, the water has been heating up and he doesn't realize it. That's a lot of the church today. That's a lot of Christianity today. Bible prophecy isn't being taught in most of our churches. And you talk about the Great Reset. How many Christians in America really know what's going on behind the scenes? You know, we had Billy Crone here, you know, who's produced a couple of books and DVDs that you can hardly even speak about publicly. Yeah. Because when people find out some of the things that are going on, it's so shocking to them, it catches them off guard. So I think one of the real benefits of the podcast is really going to be, we're going to stay on top of the news, you know, pretty much on a daily basis here, and drag Gary in here and sit him down, because when Gary starts to talk, people listen.
He's a great resource, yep.
Now we got a couple of trips coming up that I don't know if you've heard about yet, but we've got a big prophecy conference going on down in Orlando this coming March. And it's a little different from past conferences. It's a little bit smaller venue. We're going to have 15 speakers there, you know, all of the major names in the world of Bible prophecy. You know, Mondo, L.A. Marzulli, Billy Crone, Tom Hughes, Bill Koenig, Bill Salas, Ryan Pitterson, Larry Ollison, Don Perkins, Nathan Jones, Jeff Kinley, Todd Hampson, Brandon Holdhouse, Brent Miller Jr. You know all those names, you know all these people. And it's exciting, you know, for us to get together, you know, once a year and do a big conference. And of course, it's going to be in the sunshine, hopefully, in Orlando. Our last prophecy conference in Colorado Springs, we were awakened to 11 inches of snow in May.
Yeah, in May. Can you believe it?
Which was actually turned out to be pretty neat. You know, it was an interesting experience. Nobody left the building.
Yep.
Everybody was there for every message. You know, and of course, we're going to Israel next March with Aaron Lipkin. I've been to Israel twice now. This will be my third trip there. And it's like nothing I've ever experienced, nothing that I expected. I can remember my first day in northern Israel at the Galilee, looking around at fruit orchards and the beautiful Sea of Galilee and just vegetation and flowers. And it was like, I didn't realize this is like Southern California, you know, in its prime. And then you go to the Dead Sea, and my image of the Dead Sea was there's fish floating on top of the water. Well, it's this beautiful aquamarine blue water, and the mountains of Jordan are in the background, and you're sitting there thinking to yourself, wow, this isn't what I expected. Then you take a bus ride. I couldn't even tell you where this bus ride was, but we were up in the hills of Israel. And L.A. Marzulli was sitting in front of me, and he doesn't really like heights. And we were coming down this massive mountain in this tour bus on this windy mountain road. You've probably been on that road before.
I know exactly what road you're talking about.
And we were kind of looking at each other like, we didn't know Israel had mountains like this and places like this. So you've been to Israel how many times?
7 times.
7 times.
Yep.
So you've had, I'm sure, much more experience in the world of archaeology there than I have.
Yeah, and what I found is it never gets old. I look forward to going back. And actually, I go back, and you probably feel this. About the 3rd time I was there, I was like, hey, I'm familiar with the way that Jerusalem's laid out, the way the Sea of Galilee is. Arbel on the left, and the road you're talking about is on the eastern side of the Sea of Galilee, which you're coming down in these hairpin turns, which is safe, but you're like you said, Israel has a little bit of everything in its little nation.
So true. Yeah, it really is an amazing country. I still have never made it to the beach in Tel Aviv.
We're gonna this time.
Well, I can probably live without that. I'm not beach friendly these days. I still have never been to the brook where David took the 5 stones to kill Goliath.
We're going to be there this time.
I missed that on the last trip. Believe it or not, I still have never made it to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which is disappointing. I have seen a lot of things, but they're like I've never made it to the Holocaust Museum.
Oh yeah.
And so there's all these different things, and I love the itinerary you built, literally by yourself, which was wonderful with Aaron. Going back and forth. Well, can we go here? Can we go here? And so I think people are going to not only enjoy the itinerary, but people don't realize that you're going to be on the trip. David Schnickner, who's a former pastor, is going to be on the trip. And Larry Olison, who's a pastor, is going to be on the trip. So we actually are going to have 3 teaching pastors on the trip with us, as well as an Israeli tour guide. So it's going to really be unique and a unique experience.
Yeah, and even also, we don't want to fail to mention the opportunity to go to Jordan. Have you been to Petra?
I've never been to Jordan. I've never been to Petra.
Yeah, no, it's just such a beautiful, overwhelming place. And of course, as we go, we'll talk about the potential prophetic significance of the city of Petra in the book of Revelation and other passages. Many people believe that's where the Jews will flee to during the second half of the tribulation. So we'll a lot of teaching, a lot of opportunities to grow in your faith, and right on location.
Well, last I checked, we still had room for about 15 people. So if you've ever wanted to come to Israel, your first time in Israel, this would be the trip to take, because you're going to see everything. We're going to be busy. I don't even need to say that with Mondo on the trip. He's going to make sure we're running crazy and seeing a lot of things during the trip there, so it's going to be exciting. Speaking of crazy, if you can believe this, over 5,000 people have subscribed to the Prophecy Watcher in the last 6 months. Now, why would anybody do that? One of the main reasons is they're getting 8 free DVDs when they subscribe, and I'm good with that. Whatever it takes to get the gospel out, whatever it takes to get the message out, it's really critically important to what we do here. You don't know where these magazines are turning up. We hear stories of finding them in doctors' offices and sending them to lost relatives, and people. We even had someone subscribe to the magazine who was deaf, and she said she just wanted the 8 free DVDs. I didn't really get that, but to each his own. It's been a great offer for the ministry. It's really helped us really continue to grow and spread the gospel here. This offer is going to run out at the end of the year. So if you've ever considered subscribing to the Prophecy Watcher magazine, you've got another couple of months before the 8 DVD offer expires. So now would be a great time. Christmas is a great time. Get a subscription for yourself. Give the DVDs to your friends. Just a whole lot of possibilities. And of course, the things we're writing about in our magazine are things you're not going to find very many places. Gary's article this month, The Bible and the Bomb. And he actually takes a look at nuclear warfare in the Bible, specifically in the book of Zechariah, where it talks about, people's eyes melting out of the eye sockets. And, how long ago was Zechariah written?
500 BC. I mean, so you're talking, between 500 and 400 BC. Think about just that language, the idea of the flesh melting off eye sockets. I mean, it's an amazing, I remember the first time I ever read it as a new believer and was like, how could you write it any better for even in our own modern understanding of what would happen as it relates to a nuclear explosion?
Well, if you know the future, Mondo, you're either a very advanced space alien or you're God.
You're God, yep.
And those are the words of the late Dave Hunt. We got an article in this month's magazine on the red heifer, which is big news in Israel and America, and people looking forward to the to the next Jewish temple. So the magazine is certainly a cutting edge publication. Covers a lot of subjects, like we like to say, you're never going to hear in church. Anyway, letters are arriving in mailboxes all across the country for this grab bag. Do your part to help me make the girls happy. And nothing makes me happier than seeing them working hard back there. What else you got?
What else do we have? We're just busy. I mean, we are really busy. Lots of doors. Again, we're talking to a lot of authors and other speakers. And I think one of the greatest things in the sense of now that we have Skype capabilities, really the sky's the limit. There's so much in the pipeline. Our poor editor, Tyler, and others, that people are willing, and it's easy to get, again, breaking news out.
Well, technology has definitely changed the world. And our new studio here is really just cutting edge. I mean, we have everything imaginable thanks to so many friends who've donated so generously to the ministry. All of the new, just literally everything at this ministry is paid for, which is give the glory to God. And a big thank you to everyone who supports the work here. And thank you for believing what we do. It really makes a big difference. Anyway, Bob Ulrich, Mondo Gonzalez, good spending a little time with you. Hope to be able to do this more often. Once we get the podcast up and running, you'll be hearing from us more regularly. God bless you, and Maranatha.